So if you haven't woken up yet, it's time to wake up. It's really rise and shine time. The election's a month away. This crazy election. Can't go a day without talking about it, so we're going to address it here. We're going to get a perspective on November 8th, the Donald, Secretary Clinton, and their great traveling clown show. I'd like to call upon Joe Rospars, CEO, Blue State Digital, to talk about digital, technology, and this election. Get your popcorn ready.
Thanks very much. Can I get a show of hands for, I was surprised to hear the GIF versus GIF get litigated right here by an actual professional. Can I get a show of hands for GIF? Can I get a show of hands for GIF? Okay, all right, I'm doing that at all my speaking engagements from now on. Thank you, I'm Joe Rospars, founder and CEO of Blue State Digital. I ran the digital campaigns for Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012, and I've got 10 minutes to talk to you about the election, which is, we only wish it would last so short itself. I have a weird job, and having run the digital campaigns for Barack Obama, I have obviously a political background, and I like to think of myself as in recovery from politics. But Blue State Digital does do strategy and technology for political campaigns. As you can see, we've done work with separate teams for Hillary and Bernie and the DNC this cycle, but that's only about a third of our work. The rest of the time we spend working with big institutions like the US Fund for UNICEF or MIT or museums, and also the other part of the time with brands like Airbnb or Ford. We're part of the global WPP network. So that means in odd-numbered years, our political and advocacy clients are trying to figure out how to grow their organizations and act more like brands. But in even-numbered years, our brand clients are trying to figure out what they can do for politics. And so we always have work. And so I wanted to leave you with 3 questions about this particular campaign. So first, who are your people? That's the big question that the campaigns have asked. And they have an idea of who their people are, and they have an idea of who the electorate is going to be, right? So their targets are people who they think are definitely going to vote, but who need to be persuaded, right? The people who are definitely turning out to the polls every year, but who haven't decided who they're voting for. You won't be surprised to learn that in this election, that's actually a very small number of people. The bigger part of the campaign work in both Hillary and Donald Trump's case is focused on finding the people who are already pretty for you, but who are not that reliable voters. And so how do you take the people who are predisposed to be for you and turn them out to the polls? Now, of course, there's also this third group of people who you think are very likely to be for you for democratic or for demographic or geographical purposes, but who aren't even registered as part of the process. And so there's a lot of work to do around that. But when I ask who are your people, I'm asking not about who the targets are, but rather who's going to do the work for you? Who's going to be the one communicating with those targeted voters, or in your case, customers or supporters? On the Democratic side, the model we proved out on the Obama campaigns is that you can go above and beyond media at your targets and build a mechanized word-of-mouth campaign where you have people doing the work for you because they are the right person to deliver the message. They're a person that the voter or the person who's deciding whether or not they're going to turn out is somebody who they trust. And so very often brands are treating loyalty and enthusiasm as one end of a spectrum of support for their targets. But politics in the digital era, and this is what we're seeing happening in marketing more and more, has become about turning those supporters into an arm of your marketing. The second question, which naturally arises, is then, what are you asking these people to do? If they're your most valuable resources, if they're a trusted messenger to the people that they know, if they're a key validator for your messages, if they're a beacon of passion for your cause, what are you actually directing them to do? In the major party candidates this year, we actually have 2 pretty different examples about how to proceed. The first is the case of Trump, where, and this is unique in presidential politics and the general election, and there's no shortage of egos in politics, but Donald Trump believes that he is very uniquely suited to do all of the work himself of winning the election. And so his campaign has been about reaching out and whipping a lot of people up, But when they're on his side, there's actually not much for you to do as a Trump supporter. And so in an environment where you have a lot of energy that's not being channeled productively into an organization, you can see the result. This was the reaction when I wrote a piece for Time earlier this summer. And this is just an example of what happens to me as a white guy who gets in the crosshairs of idle-handed Trump supporters. In contrast, you have Hillary Clinton, who has something for you to do no matter who you are, where you live, or even what time of day it is. In fact, as you can see in this screenshot, you can even install an extension in your Chrome web browser to remind you to do something useful with yourself for the campaign before you navigate to any other site on the internet every time you open your browser. And so while there will be ups and downs in the general political conversation in the froth of the media, and the approval ratings and enthusiasm will ebb and flow, the standing posture for the Clinton campaign is to maximize every ounce of enthusiasm and extend the reach of the organization to every corner possible. Now, ideally, you're thinking about these answers in relationship to your analogous marketing challenges and how you think about supporters or customers, but I do want to raise a third question that brands face a little bit more directly about how they relate to the political process that's also playing out this year in 2016. That third question is, when will you take a stand, and how? Sure, your brand is probably already taking a stand for some corporate value statement or a sustainability goal, or giving back to the community somehow. We all spend a lot of time doing that in our professional lives. But what about actually entering the political fray? Sometimes a brand proactively enters the debate on an issue, right? We're seeing it right now in North Carolina, where companies have decided to draw a line about what constitutes fairness and equality under the law, and that's being litigated in real time right now. But then sometimes a brand gets dragged in against its will. We saw it when a poor, defenseless candy brand was deployed as a terrible racist analogy for refugees in Syria. And their response was pitch perfect, acknowledging the political debate, making a clear statement about the issue and its seriousness, while also acknowledging their place, or their lack of place, in the debate. And so, stepping back, every reliable indicator suggests that Hillary Clinton is going to be the next president of the United States. But that's not to say that she will be the solution to a badly broken political process or deeply polarized groups of quite aggrieved Americans. Trump has done a lot to normalize what had been marginal views and brought scale to a movement that for a generation has been more at the fringes of our political conversation. And so as you contemplate these questions of who are your supporters, who are your customers that are most passionate, what can you ask them to do for your marketing, and when and how does your brand take a stand in the political process, you should remember that while it feels like this election is coming to a close, all of the dynamics of our fractious politics are going to be exerting more, not less, gravitational pull on your marketing. Thanks.